Davey D hanging out with you this afternoon, sitting in front of me, the one and only, the rhyme animal, the legend himself, Mr. Chuck D. And I definitely had to talk to you on a number of things. One of the questions we've been asking is, we've been looking at the role of hip-hop over the years, and just remembering that when you came out, you said one of your goals was to raise 5,000 new leaders. There's a big question about hip-hop being a social movement. What does that look like? And so we want to revisit that question. Is hip-hop a movement? If so, is it the right kind of movement? The movements of Marcus Garvey, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Arts Movement, and others. Are we a movement? And if so, how is that manifesting itself? And if not, what do we need to do?
Well, it's a world. Hip-hop is a world movement.
Homies where the heart is, I think mine's beatbox. Elements of jazz and hip-hop like Pete Rock. You would agree, Big, I think you would agree, Pac. A lot of people claiming hip-hop when they shit pop. The essence of hip-hop come from the struggle when niggas overcome the odds and make something to nothing. Rather than nothing, it was something of substance. The lack thereof is making nothing of something. When words fail, music speaks. Singing songs of the soul, good like soul food. I satisfy my appetite musically, but fake rappers ain't got no soul like old shoes. We need to celebrate the music, educate the youth. We need a Billie Holiday to celebrate the blues. Pushing the jazz ever since I got my arms strong, like Lewis, but they don't listen to music.
They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me.
Respect that we come from the West. Respect that we some of the best. My perspective, been here, been past the test. New is here how we rep. Here we come like marching bands. Proud to contribute to the art of man. Since a child singing church songs, solos to me now, chasing the life of a mogul. Question, why I need your permission? This is all for the sake of our avant-garde. Rat pack fat boys to the new pop stars. To being a rolling stone from Mars. This is real life, just trying to heal life with expression through bars. Respect this ain't all for a car. Nah. Respect this ain't all for a chain. Nah. Respect this or the sign of the game. Shame. I can see this is probably what the fat lady saying.
They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me.
Respect the universal language. Black, brown, and white street slang like a worldwide code we only comprehend it. Therapeutic words like my music is to shrink and sing for your soul because you know that it makes you think. East Coast graffiti breaking MCs, DJs, hip hop into the West Coast thing life struggles, dolos and pop locking. To the down south hustle and grinding. Come on, pay homage. Nowadays these people rap and I don't feel nothing honest. Respect my Spanish form, Central to South America for sure. To the Caribbeans, that shit spread it like a plague. To put the souls out there, but never sell it. Speaking for the people, and if they show you love back, then that means that they feel you. Poverty's around still, robberies and murder still. Nothing sweet, but I begin to rap. Find me in Sugar Hill, battling of course. Get your armors and your weapons. May the best MC win, but make sure that you're respected.
They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. They still don't show no respect. But I'ma make them respect me.
Hip hop is a world movement, so it's best for us to figure out how we can align with the momentums of the rest of the world and figure out what our place is in the rest of the world. And
what do you mean when you say it's a world movement?
Well, in every single country I've been to, and there's about 65 of them, that the energy from people involved in hip hop has gone beyond just let's snap our fingers, have a good time, and go home and not think about what we did. It's always been a voice to figure out and say, okay, we were having a great time, but we could come back and still, play our role, be in our zone. And, if we're 13 years old, we could shake and finger pop or whatever they used to say. But if we're 36 years old, we got an accountability and responsibility to come back and do something. Oh, is it based on how many jobs you're giving? No. Is it based on how much money you're giving people? No. Is it based on maybe sometimes communicating to a lot of younger people? Yes, and yes. Maybe the person might not be gifted communicating. But you have to do something when you grow. And I've seen a lot of grown folks, and they might have a complaint about whatever. I'm like, dude, you sitting on the porch at 2 o'clock in the afternoon watching BET TV. Granted, you ain't got no job, but you ain't got no grass on your front lawn either. Sitting there smoking a cool, and you walk past a flattened potato chip bag for the last 2 weeks. Can you at least put inside your mindset that, it's not going to start unless you make a significant start? Pick up that potato chip bag and at least clean up your surroundings. Like they said, things that make sense, common sense from back in the days. Like, you know what, before you go outside, come here and wash your ass. You got people that haven't had that said to them ever. So they actually think that something got to come along and baby them into an area of convenience or comfort. And we got to totally tell people that this is not 2009, 10, 11, 12 is not going to be years of convenience and comfort. It's just going to be an era of your bed is what you make it, and you might not have all the tools to make it. So maybe your surroundings will help you make it when you connect with them.
We asked this question to the class that I teach at SF State, and I had asked folks in the class if they thought hip-hop was a movement. Many people said they thought it was, and they had a lot of far-ranging opinions. Some people thought it was a movement because everybody got along. The races came together. People like the same music, concerts and entertainment. I asked everybody if they liked Dead Prez. Asked them if they liked Mos Def. Asked them what they thought of Public Enemy. They all raised their hands. Then I asked the class, how many people are involved with the San Francisco 8, the attempts to get them off of trial, to free the SF8? Nobody raised their hand. Ask them if they thought about political prisoners, police brutality, again, not a lot of answers. What has happened with the newer generation where these things, they say that they really are into these artists like yourselves, but they're not really following the dictates and the things that you all are talking about. They're not taking up the causes that you all have spoken so eloquently about, both in song and in real life.
Because the arts made it easy. The arts made it easy to jump and say, well, I like this record. I like what they're touching upon. And I'll wait before I want to actually go further with the detail. I don't think a lot of organizations have worked in the regard of simplifying movements for young people coming in, the common person coming up and trying to understand themselves. And so therefore, I think the complexities scare people away. And there's not enough organizations that are able to simplify their movement for the masses. So I think music was able to be that great introduction. The next layer was those organizations that existed. And a lot of those movers and shakers came from the 60s and the 70s. It's like the SCLC and the Urban League, NAACP. They had structures that were set up that kind of like did real talk, real things. All they needed was the youthful energy and some kind of adjustment as time went forward. But what we've had kind of those organizations have drifted off into their agenda, and not to say that they're less relevant. I think they're further apart from each other, and they're further apart from the people. And also the music is further away from the people as well. So all these things are kind of like scattered in its own direction out there. And whereas the conditions of R&B, that's Reagan and Bush in the 80s, kind of had everybody kind of nestled together with similar complaints. So therefore organizations could be simple in their I guess their recruitment or their encroachment of coming upon getting people's interest.
Man, I got my verse. Man, let me get on. Something, please. Y'all, the realest need you. Full-fledged. The realest.